republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. This is our public input section right now. If anyone has anything they want to get up and say, you're welcome to come to the mic. Please follow what's on our agenda for rules. If you want to get up and say something, you have a 4-minute leeway. Give us your name and your address.
I would.
Sure.
Here?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Tony Sorelli. I live on 24 Horton up here in Sickaway. I've got children both in middle school here and at school 18. One of the things that one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight is it's an issue that I've been plaguing everybody for all years, the school bus situation. I know that everybody is having issues with this, but I know that I was wondering if you could just give us some insight as to how this is being fixed, or if there's like a light at the end of the tunnel, or anything like that. I mean, this morning I was an hour late bringing my kid getting to work because the school bus just didn't come, and it's been happening a lot lately, and my bosses are starting to get a little annoyed.
We usually don't answer from the table, but John or Adam, can you address? Can you say anything to it?
Sure. I mean, we're definitely in a situation where we don't have enough drivers.
Right.
We're not unique, I'd say, for any school district. Anyone willing to drive a bus, please do so. That's not a joke, really.
No, I know.
We recently passed a memorandum of agreement with our own personnel to incentivize attendance. We've reached out to the bus company. All of our transportation is contracted, as you probably know, with the bus company to have a conversation on their ends to maybe do something similarly. Usually we have 10% drivers in reserve. We are at 0%. So the minute somebody calls out, we're doubling up. It's definitely an issue. I mean, we're fully aware of the issue. If I could change it tomorrow, I definitely would. And I don't have a solution yet. We've reached out to any other transportation company in the capital region. They've all got the same issue. We would sign a contract with any of them tomorrow if we could.
Right.
But the drivers aren't available. That's the issue right now. We've talked about it at cabinet at length, about what can we do. If you've got a great idea, please email me or bring it forward. We've talked about even in the future going to 3 tiers, having schools be at different times, and the elementary start at different times. Right now, our first tier that does all the elementaries then goes and does the middle school. So, it's not like we can make that work. We'd have to do it in a 3-tier that would make sense and not screw up everything else. But we're trying to put our heads together to think about a way to solve this problem. Even if we go back out for another bid to say they pay their drivers more, I don't know that will solve it. It won't do it right now. We're under contract, but those are all things that are in play. I'm sorry that the bus is late. I mean, I get the texts every morning.
Right.
So I see every single one, and I was hopeful it got a little bit better, I'd say, after Christmas, and then now it's getting a little bit worse again.
Right.
So it's just a matter of, as soon as a driver calls out, we're doubling up, and everybody's 45 minutes late.
Right.
It's a huge problem. I will also say, for parents, when maybe we should send something out, if someone is not riding the bus and will not ride the bus, tell us, and we can reduce the stop, we can make ourselves more efficient.
Okay.
If we have a 70-kid bus and 45 are riding it, that's 20 some odd seats that we don't need to stop somewhere, and if someone doesn't come out, then it just slows down the whole pickup process. But I don't have the best answer for you, I can tell you that right now, and it's a national problem, and it's a very big issue for parents, and we know it.
Okay.
So yeah, just to answered a little bit, great job, Mr. Hotel. I mean, we're as frustrated as you are. So, I mean, it's
Oh,
not,
I know.
We're not, it's not going unnoticed. Every day I get the text as well. There was an article in the paper from a neighboring district today that they have runs automatically that are an hour long because they have the same shortage that we have or worse. And so they're just picking kids up every day an hour later.
Okay.
So it doesn't make it better for you, for sure.
Right.
But we're aware and we're trying. And I think the best thing Adam said was if you have ideas, and we'll listen to them. You can email them to me or whatever. And we'll try to do it. But we're trying to come up with solutions, and they're just not there right now.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for listening. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Hotel. Not really. At this time, I'd like to introduce Adam Hoteling.
Let's talk about transportation.
For real this time, for our capital project presentation.
Didn't mean to step on your own.
You're a school 18 parent, I thought the question might have been slightly different, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where to stand here. A year ago, yesterday, we gave actually I think it's tomorrow, we gave a capital presentation or capital project update. So it looks like we're doing it probably like twice a year with the large project that's going on. I'm Adam Hoteling, Assistant Superintendent for Business, heavily involved with the capital project, pretty much almost in every building here in the district. Mosaic Architects, Kristen Lorcher's here, who's I'd say the lead on our project. Jeff West from UW Marks is the construction manager, and Henry Albarelli is our clerk of the works, and Bob Garland is our facilities director. It's one part of many, many, many people that are involved in these projects. The brain trust to try to get everything to run smoothly, which is not always easy, and get these projects completed on time and on budget. Mission statement: graduate students, college, educational and social foundation to graduate students, college and career ready. That's our goal. That's what we do. I've always said facilities is a part of that. Having safe, up-to-date, technological facilities is always important, and really just to drive our mission. I'm going to go quickly through the first couple slides because they're repeats from the last couple of presentations, but I think they're important to talk about again. The large project that we're in is a $56 million building modernization plan. The vote was back in 2019, so that's already 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. A lot's changed in those 2.5 years. We continue to have this project go along. We're in phase 2. I'll go through that out of 4 phases. Way back then in 2015, I think, we had a building condition survey and identified numerous needs in certain buildings in our district. Some of our buildings are quite old. School 18's from 1927, somewhat original in a lot of parts of the building. School 16's 1951 with an addition in 53, also pretty much original. The high school tech wing, circa 1950, pretty much original. Those were areas identified in the building condition survey saying, hey, you really need to address these deficiencies in the building. At that time, in 2016, we did a large project, but we couldn't do it all, so these things were deferred until this project. As part of this project, we also purchased what used to be called the Neff Center, which is now the Troy Communities, turning into the Troy Community School. As part of this project, we also added classroom walls at School 14. I don't know if everyone's familiar with School 14, but it was an open classroom concept. There were no walls, there were clusters where 4 classrooms were essentially connected, open air. You could hear the other classroom, and part of our both educational philosophy and also security philosophy was to put walls up in that building. We're halfway done with that. Carroll Hill, we replaced the windows or window reglazing. The windows at that building were actually opaque. You really couldn't see out of them. We replaced those. Also the HVAC unit vents there. And then School 12, we also have putting in a secure main entry and renovating the pool areas. It's a lot in this project, but those are just some of the larger highlights of what we're doing in this project. I'm going to really go through quickly on this one. This is what have we done. I started here in 2015, and I feel like we've been under construction ever since I started, and before, really in 2013. There's been a lot of projects done. You can go down the laundry list there, a lot of good things. I always point out we had 2 emergency projects during this time. Again, we want to avoid emergencies, they're costly. You pay more, you know, without going out to bid, having it properly planned. There's a pool ceiling in the high school, and the roof at the high school also failed, and we had to do an emergency project. And it's important to keep up our facilities as we go. When this project is done, I'm sure there's going to be more to do. We have 9 buildings now. $56 million sounds like a lot of money, but those buildings are worth way more than that. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. And when they haven't been, you know, updated every decade or 2 decades, you really fall behind and it becomes very costly. And we're kind of seeing that in some of these buildings that we're in. A little timeline. Phase 1 was Carroll Hill. That was back last summer. Again, we did the windows and the HVAC. We're currently in Phase 2, which runs us through this summer of '22. The Troy Community School, which we'll show some slides, some pictures of, so everyone can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. That's under construction currently. That's an all-year-long project. Our alternative learning program, that's currently on the 2nd floor of School 12, will be moving there. School 14, again, classroom walls. The first half of the building was done this past summer, and the second half will be done this upcoming summer. The pool area there is being repurposed and renovated to become the buildings and grounds or facilities main office, I'll say. School 12's pool area is also being repurposed, and that's under construction right now. That'll become special ed and central registration. Phase 3, which is starting this summer and running a whole year, will be School 18. That's the heating and ventilating and pool area renovation, adding a cafeteria. They'll temporarily be down at School 12 for 1 year. I have the tech wing next on there. We'll have a slide on that. The tech wing is an ongoing planning project right now, and I'll get into that a little bit more. More than likely that may come out of Phase 3 and go into Phase 4. And then Phase 4 is summer of '23 to fall of '24, and that is when School 16 will be renovated, and School 16 will also go down to School 12 for 1 year to get a full building renovation. Now the fun picture part, Phase 1, Carroll Hill. This is a repeat slide from last time because it was done at that point in time in September. New heating and cooling units, new storefront windows, and reglazed windows all throughout the building. I hope Mr. Stiles is happy with what we did. That project is fully complete, right? Pretty much, punch list only. So I call it a successful project. Troy Community School, again, this is a year-long project currently under construction. We are on track to finish that project so we can move in there this summer. These are renderings. Top left here is the main entrance coming into the building. Bottom here is a look at the main office as you're in the lobby. This is the lobby area. And up top is just one corridor as an example of a corridor of the building. What does it look like right now? That's the outside of the building on the left. Those are windows that were actually new windows that were put into the building. This is a 2-story. We're actually adding classrooms all up on the 2nd floor. Right now it's one big open building. There'll be 2 stacks of classrooms essentially. This is today in that building. There's piles of sheetrock ready to go up. That's exciting because once the sheetrock goes up, you really feel like you're in the home stretch. Metal studs are up. There's still a lot to do. I didn't show the helical piles that we had to put in that building, but this is an unbelievable project that probably I'll never ever do something like this again in my career. But it's really interesting, and it's going to be a beautiful essentially brand new building for the ALP program. School 12, again under construction, heavy in the pool area and also the main office area for a new secure main office and vestibule. Again, we're slated for summer finishing, so everyone can move into those areas. Again, these are renderings. The bottom left is the secure main vestibule, so when someone comes in on the right will be a window so you can get buzzed in. Right now you kind of come into the lobby, you can go right into the school. Top right is the lobby area for where transportation, central registration, and special ed will be. These are just some more renderings of central registration's transaction window, so when someone comes in to enroll in the district, this is where they come. And the bottom right is the new main office rendering for School 12. What does it look like right now? They've actually got sheetrock up in the pool area. Those are the bottom two, one side and the other side. You can kind of see the old pool columns are right there. Top right, this is the lobby area. So if you look back, you can kind of see the lobby, the walls there. Those are those walls. The top left is from the old presentation I gave a couple months ago when the construction workers actually had to remove the bleachers by hand with hammers and wheelbarrow them out of the back door, which was pretty amazing. This is the old pool area cover that's infilled, and now it's a concrete floor. So we're on target with that as well, thankfully. School 14, this is just some repeat slides from last time. The top left is a rendering of what a classroom would look like. These are two classroom pictures. This is before the flooring was in, so I didn't get an updated picture for that. But the students are in those areas in approximately half of the building. Again, the second half will be done this summer, and this is the new secure vestibule area that'll be going in this summer as well. High school tech wing. So the first bullet there, the design, our budgeting, logistics have been talked about probably for a year, 2 years. I can't even tell you. We've been trying to figure out that whole project. We reached out to the state education department and said, you know, we feel like we can do this better and cheaper if you allowed us to build a new tech wing and demolish the old one. Now that's not normal, quote unquote normal. We're asking for an exception. We had that meeting and they're considering it. It's important to know, and it's one of these bullets down the bottom, that you get different aid if you renovate a space versus adding a new addition. So that's really why we had to ask for an exception. If they say no, because of a guidance rule that they just don't want to make an exception for, then we will renovate the tech wing in place. We just feel that we can save money by doing it a different way. And also, it would allow people to stay in the tech wing while it's being constructed. It just makes so much more sense. There were multiple bullets that we put forth to SED, and they listened. It was really a great meeting. And again, they're considering that, and that's kind of tabled at this point in time until we get an answer. We felt like tabling it and just delaying it just a little bit was worth it if we can save a couple $1 million and operate better. Again, that likely defers the schedule possibly to the 23-24 school year. And we're doing our due diligence because I'm sure anyone that was on the board a couple years ago remembers when we tried to replace the roof, we had to have a structural assessment of that, of the tech wing. And they said we think it'll last approximately 4 years. We're approaching that, so we had a secondary structural review done. We're awaiting the final report. So that's the one part of the project that's kind of in limbo. We're waiting to get some more answers, and I'll update probably in a couple months as to what's been going on with that. I really hope SED allows this to happen. I mean, I won't lie to you, parking at the high school will be an issue for a little bit. We're trying to come up with ideas on where we can get some alternative parking up there, but it's a tight campus already. But in my opinion, it probably would be worth it to get this completed. Phase 3, that's the 22-23 school year. Probably the most, I hate to say this, but maybe the most difficult part of this project is moving 3 or 4 buildings.
In one summer?
Well, this is like 3 buildings in one summer. I really can't say enough about Hank and the work he does. He knows everything, and he is everywhere. And so just to try to get the ALP moved to school, to the Troy Community School, get School 18 down to School 12. What am I missing? Get the special ed office and central registration central registration out of where they are now, in a temporary space, back into their new space. It's a lot, and it's a lot to do in 2 months. We thought last summer was tough. I think this summer might be just as tough, if not more tougher. But hopefully we've got our plan in place, but we know there's going to be curveballs.
You didn't throw in School 14.
Oh, of course, how could I forget? And School 14, which is getting walls, which means it essentially needs to be emptied and then all put back. So it's an extraordinary summer, extraordinary. ALP, we're looking to move them, the minute that bell rings and the students are gone and the teachers are on their way out, stuff is getting moved. We're not waiting for anybody. It's already planned. We're counting by the hours, not by the days when it comes to these projects. So that's all going to be happening. Central registration and special ed will be moving into their new area. And School 18 will be moving down to School 12. We're totally unoccupying the building. There's going to be nobody in School 18. That's all grades, that's all teachers, that's all staff. Central office will remain on the 3rd floor, and then all students will be eligible for school bus transportation down to School 12. How many? I don't think Mario's here. I think we have three full buses now. 4, and it'll probably get to a 5th by having it for everybody.
And can I ask a quick question? When the ALP goes to the Troy Community School, will that take up all the capacity in that building?
No,
Okay.
not as it currently is.
Okay.
As part of that planning and the budget planning, there's discussion about, right now there's 8th, 9th, and 10th graders during the day in the 2nd floor. With the expanded space, there's the ability to go up and down, pushing it up to 11th, and the ability to take a 7th and 8th grade student, should it be appropriate, from the middle school. So we've talked to Mr. Canfield about how that's all going to work. We've had in our budget discussions that we had with Cabinet, we talked about what does that mean, what does that look like, what is the process. So that's all going to be part of the budget as well as the program down there. Now the program, I'd say, flexes. It doesn't necessarily start with a student in September. It kind of depends on how the year goes. So, but there's definitely expansion capacity. School 18, Ginny, I'm sorry you haven't seen some of these. Main entrance at School 18, I kind of forget that everybody doesn't do this every day. So I think the last time we showed it at School 18 was like 3 years ago. And some of this is new. This one on the bottom right is not new. That was from that time. The main entrance will be moving to the right side of the building where the elevator is. Coming into the main lobby. This is a rendering. This is not exactly what may happen, but it's a rendering of what the main lobby will look like with the elevator straight there. On the left here, that's not a cage. Mr. Carmelo said, why are we in the lobby? That's a window storefront of the main office, I believe, right?
Yes.
And then on the top right, we don't have renderings of every spot in the building. On the top right is an example of the look of the cafeteria. That'll be new to the building. Right now there is no cafeteria. This also brings in new HVAC. It's very old heating in that building. I think it's low pressure steam, if I'm not mistaken. Not water rated.
Hot water now.
Not water rated.
But it is,
It's all set up for that.
Yeah. And I will say, we know cooling is an extremely important request of the building, and I'd say the community.
God, look at that.
And so it is in the project. We are, always hesitant about budget, so I just want to say we will work with everything as we go forward. Part of that, in the budget presentation was, when we approved this project in 2019, pre-COVID, pre-inflation, pre-differences in the world, we put a price tag on it, and that's what we're going forward with. If you recall from last time at the board meeting, we talked about adding in the budget a transfer to capital from our unassigned fund balance to put some more money into this project as part of the budget transfer to capital, because we think we need some more money to get this project done. The cost of supplies, the lack of labor has really put a damper on the project. We want to get everything done. That's what I'm saying. It's just not as easy as just snapping your fingers and being like, oh, this is all getting done. There's a lot here. We want to make sure we can get it all done. And the pool area down below subgrade is being converted to primarily office space. Let's see then, phase 4, which is the 23-24 school year, begins in the summer of 23. School 18 moved on back to school 18. School 16 temporarily moves back to school 12, where school 18 just was, for a full year renovation of that building. These are the same bullets, unoccupied for school 16, all students, all staff. Central office remains on the 3rd floor, and all students will be eligible for transportation.
That's what I was going to say. If anybody has any questions, this is the time to ask them right now. He's the guy to ask them to. So, and those guys in the back. Go ahead.
Just a question. So where exactly is the cafeteria going? I thought that was going to the pool area, so I just got confused as to where that was going.
That's a great question, and you're exactly right. So 3 years ago, we were hopeful to put the cafeteria in what used to be the pool, is the pool. That was the hope. The difficulty is, it was, investigated and looked at by the architects and the construction manager firm, I believe. We were hopeful to put, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten, but the east and west stairwells down to that floor. They don't currently go to the pool area. And the cost of that and the grade of the hill in the front was prohibitive. We couldn't do it. Because you have fire code issues. When you have so many people in a certain area, they need certain means of egress. So we needed to do that for us to put the pool area there. It couldn't happen. So during the last 2 years of design, that moved to, I don't know, the first floor, heading
northeast.
So do you know where the cafeteria is the kitchen is right now?
Yes.
That's off the gym. It's to the, northeast of that. I think it's currently a classroom, if I'm not mistaken. So there's different spaces in the building that are almost swapping in order to get what we need to get in the project. So like some offices are going to the basement, those are becoming classrooms. We have numerous vintage buildings in the district that have a lot of mezzanines, split levels, in order to be ADA compliant and enough head height. There's a lot of moving parts there, and that's what we see both at School 12, at school, especially School 12 and School 18, which are pretty much a couple years apart when they were built. So I wish, to be quite honest, we can get more square footage, but we kind of lose some floor leveling when we renovate.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering for next year, I'm a school 18 parent, and are there any plans for I know the buses are concerned, and I didn't really think about it till now, but I got a new job in Albany. I don't think I'll be able to drive my daughter to South Troy every day. There's gonna be a lot more kids taking the bus. What's the plan?
That's a great question.
If I was late, I'd probably lose my job, and I can't afford to do that.
Yep. So it's an excellent question, and we've got hopefully time to consider how we're going to do all this and how, I talk to Mario almost every day about how we're going to prioritize certain things. Right now, I can tell you Route 16 on School 18 is a problem every day. So we can't have that next year. They're traveling a farther distance, so more than likely we're gonna have to prioritize those runs. I'll tell you right now, there's some runs that we have to prioritize. Why is School 16, this is my question, why is School 16, or excuse me, School 18 Route 16 the one that always comes up? If I'm the parent with a kid on that bus, I'm getting kind of annoyed, And so the answer is, we've trained a second driver on that run so they aren't missing stops, hopefully, and are able to get it done, and that's the one that we kind of pivot on. We can't do that next year, so it's going to have to become a different pivot depending on what's going on. The ride's going to be longer, we don't have as much cushion in those rides. So, those 5 buses are going to have to be the first fill, if you will. You understand what I'm saying? So, if we have 25 buses running elementary and 20 running secondary, we've got to prioritize those runs. That's my first answer to you. People don't like to hear that anything is prioritized, but it is, just based on logistics and what can be filled and what can't be filled. That's probably not comforting, but it's the reality. I mean, if we are going to do everything in our power with the bus company to get as many people certified to drive a bus and in line to drive a bus for the fall.
So I think that's the comforting part, if there is one, is that we do have time, and I don't think anybody anticipates, although I'm not sure people anticipate this lasting for 2 years either, but I don't think anybody's anticipating that the labor shortage and all the other issues that we're facing right now are going to still be around next September. So, we've had a great run with transportation prior to all of the stuff that we're going through right now. So, I think that we'll be in contact with Adam was mentioning before, some kind of attendance incentives and things like that. So that'll be easier to really talk to them about going into next year as a full year. And we'll do the things to prepare over the next 4 or 5 months so that we're in a good spot to not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest indicator is we're all sitting here without masks on today. You can't discount COVID. And, if your bus is late once, I think everybody is a really good trooper and deals with it. When it's late 20 times, that's when we really get into like, hey, this is a real problem. And so, the amount of COVID absences, has really kind of ruined the whole thing. Because adult absences, because, we don't have the bench to replace it. So, if somebody was out for 10 days in the fall, that's, your bus is late 10 times right there. So that, hopefully in the future, we don't have, COVID absences where we have 5 drivers out, because that's not sustainable. That's not doable, forever. So I'm not going to rest everything on hope. It's going to be, what are we doing to get more and more bus drivers? But it is extremely, extremely difficult. I mean, if you have a CDL, you can practically name your salary, which is part of the issue.
And I think transportation is going to be a key factor across the entire district, not only with School 18, but I think we're prioritizing it throughout all of our schools, because it's not only like one school's issue, it's the entire district. So.
I just want to mention this also with that, like kids in our neighborhood get picked up at 7:05 to be there at 7:30. And we live a mile away. So would there be a consideration to start the day a little bit later, or are they going to get picked up at 6:45 in the morning?
I don't know
I
how
mean,
much
just
earlier
something
it would
to
be.
consider, because it's
Yeah.
a big change.
I mean, Mario could definitely answer this better for me, but I'll do my best to say, you know, the largest portion of time is actually essentially the door-to-door pickup. You know, once you get on the, I mean, everyone here kind of knows how long it takes to get from, you know, school 18 to school 12. You know, so it probably will add 15 minutes is my guess. You know, so does it back up 15 minutes, or do we look at different start times? I mean, we can discuss that, knowing that we have the second tier of middle school. So you know, those things are always connected as to how we do things. So we've had numerous conversations, I think as I said earlier, about do we, does the high school and middle school always start at the same time? Do we make any change? More than likely, if nothing changes, pickup times would probably be 15 minutes earlier in my guess. That's without anything else changing. But if you're saying, hey, would we consider changing start times or end times or what have you? Have to be
We'll look
discussed.
at all of that.
I think you hit too on when you spoke from up here about parents letting us know whether the child is going to get on, because I know the parents in my neighborhood from school 18 are saying to me, well, I'm just going to drive my kid to school. And so I'm hearing it, from Euclid Avenue area, that they're going to be driving their kids to school. I think us knowing that would give us a good indication on the bus schedule too.
I know any parent, no parent is always hesitant to do that because, just in case you want that seat, I get it, I would say, normally 100% of the kids don't show up and get on the bus 100% of the time. If somebody needed a ride at the end of the day, I would hope we could accommodate that. But if your son or daughter or what have you is not going to ride in the mornings, like if you tell us it's helpful. If they're never riding, that's even more helpful. I mean, the seat is taken, by that child. So we just are trying to run more efficiently, and it's just not the way it used to be. So that's the issue we run into. So everybody can do their part and say, hey, if they're not riding, it's if someday you need a ride home, either you can accommodate or you can call the district and we can try to get them on a bus. I know it's a unique circumstance, but I think it's going to take a whole lot of people to solve this problem, to be quite honest.
I have another question. So then would it be helpful, if usually what happens with me and the other lady that at my bus stop is we wait there at about 7:15, 7:20, and when the bus doesn't come, we just leave and bring our kids to school. So what would be helpful then is that when we leave, just to call the transportation and say, hey, just so you know, you don't need to stop at this stop because we're
I mean more of like I plan on driving my child all year.
okay.
Not those ones, because honestly, you're not going to get through.
Right.
I mean, right now,
Yeah.
200 people are calling at the same time. That's another part of the issue that we've got. It's demand. Demand at that time is enormous. So I'm not speaking about that. I'm talking about the whole year.
Right.
That's what we see. Some buses are packed, some buses aren't.
Right.
So it's just a matter of being as efficient. If we have 4 buses now, but we really have 100 kids riding a day, that's really 2 buses. So it's just trying to figure out how that all works. We're at 90% attendance, so it's not that kids aren't showing up to school in theory. It's that people are deciding to drive, and maybe we can kind of merge those things. And then you've got 2 more drivers. That's what we're talking about. I know we had a question back here.
Yeah, I actually, just a two-part, just an idea for, I know that there is supposed to be an app for the school buses.
What's the deal?
Well, if you, no, it's not even that, you don't need to get into that, I know that's kind of more of Mario's avenue, but if there were an option on the app for a parent to say, I'm not going tomorrow, not drive, or I'm gonna drive my kid tomorrow. Might help you guys streamline it, just an idea, I don't know if it would have that type of capability.
Yeah, we were discussing an app pre-COVID, and we then have been discussing it full tilt with Durham, who's the transportation company, which we plan on implementing. The issue is right now, which I didn't want to implement something that would then really blow up.
Yeah.
Was when your bus driver doesn't come, when they change from driver A to driver B, and they're taking a different bus, how do you know which bus you're riding? And they couldn't answer that question. So you'd be there on your app looking at the bus that's going somewhere else, and that's not even your bus. It's not really a helpful tool.
Right.
And then you'd probably just be going berserk that my bus is heading to the other side of the city. Like, doesn't even make sense. So that question couldn't be answered for me, so we weren't comfortable rolling it out. If every driver shows up, every bus runs properly, the app works great, but you know what? Then you probably really don't even need the app. You know, like when every bus driver shows up and the buses run on time, there is no problem. You know, the problem we're trying to address is a different bus is picking up my child and it's at a different time, and that's part of the problem. So I hear you, and I wish there was a way for them to, you know, electronically just switch bus A to bus B. You get a text and you know, and it's simpler. I haven't seen anything like that yet that exists. You know, so that's my one issue with trying to roll that out.
Right. I was also wondering if you could touch on the cooling for School 18 a little bit more. Is there room within the project where, to me it sounds like it's now, maybe it's happening, maybe it's not happening.
I'd say it's in the project. I'd say hopefully, I guess I can't say anything about the budget really, except for like, you know, there's money in the budget proposal of draft 1 to, I'd say, ensure. So if you want that, that's a line in the budget that will be helpful. You know, I don't know what the bids are going to come in at, but knowing what we've seen, we feel like we may want to be more safe than sorry. So if that's a priority for you, that may be the best way, just to, you know, make sure that that additional funding happens.
So,
does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So the bids still have to go out, and so contractors would bid on that, and then is it designed for forced hot air or ductless splits, or are there options?
I know you know this answer.
So there is a heating system that will provide air, heated and cooled air, and there's a heating system that will provide heat at the windows, and designed it so that if the district can afford it, you get the whole package.
It's not a split system.
Right. So it's at a tower.
Unit ventilators with circulated
Reheat coil
hot
and
water
cold
or cold water.
Does that make sense? So it's like hot and cold water circulation through unit vents.
It's a system for the school. It's not partial, and it can't be cut into half.
But just to expand a little bit on what Adam's talking about, because a lot of you weren't here for the draft 1 budget. So we went through that, and draft 2 will be at the next meeting if you want to come and listen to it. But one of the things we put into the draft 1 budget was this $5 million transfer to capital. And I mean, he did already say it, but this was 2019 when we were getting the cost estimates. And you know, from going to the gas station or the grocery store or anywhere in the last 6 months, how much prices have gone up. So that's affecting a project like this the same way, and the percentages mean, you know, 56 million, and now we're still a year out for 18 and 2 years or 2+ years out for now maybe the Tri-High wing and School 16. So 56 million, if we were doing that cost today, might be 70 million. We don't even really know, so we're just guessing a little bit. So what we've done is taken that $5 million. Pretty quickly after that meeting, the capital project team, who meets regularly, at least once a week, sometimes more, started talking about is $5 million even enough? So in draft 2, we may even make that $5 million a little bit more so that we can make sure, again, trying to guard against this inflation that's happening and still be able to deliver the capital project that the voters voted on. So it's tough because, I mean, in reality, we were talking about, before we realized that we were in a great spot monetarily, fiscally, where we could transfer that $5 million, we were thinking we'd have to go back out to the taxpayers and try to explain the inflation thing, and to just complete the project, we'd have to get another vote going. But I think this transfer to capital will help us not have to do that, but we'll need the vote on the budget to make that go through.
Yeah, as the business guy, the assistant superintendent for business, you know, you may say, okay, where does that money come from and how do you do that? I think that's an important question, which is, you know, we just had 2 years of COVID. There was a lot of things that this district didn't do that we normally do, that we budgeted for. So at the end of the year, we have some funds left over, and we felt like this was an appropriate utilization of those funds because it's somewhat COVID related. You know, like we didn't do some things, we've got this money, let's use it to make sure that we do what we told voters we would do. We have to make sure we tell you and you vote on it in the budget.
One of the takeaways from all of this is we are begging you to go out and vote. We can't tell you how to vote. We definitely can't tell you how to vote, but you like air conditioning.
I will say the principal of the building is a big advocate for it. So.
Well, wait till you keep those numbers up.
Yeah, right.
Pressure, no pressure, that's fine.
Are there any other questions?
I have one more easy question for you.
Yeah.
Parking is obviously an issue at School 18. Down at School 12, when our whole faculty and staff is there, will there be parking for parents if we do need to pick up our students, or will we be street parking again there as well?
Okay, that is not an easy question.
Sorry.
We're not going to be allowed that.
There's been a couple different meetings. We've had discussion on that. There are a lot of parking spots down at School 12, many more than School 18. That being said, there is discussion about where buses will be and where parent pickup will be, and I think it's in the works to determine the plan. So I don't want to say, like, this is exactly what's going to happen, because I think there's a lot of people to help make that decision. You know, Ginny is the principal. I'm not going to overstep my role. I think, you know, Mario, Bob, Ginny, pre-K, which is also down there, all have to make sure it works for everyone. The middle school was there not too long ago. You know, there were 12 or 13 buses that picked up at that point in time, with more staff. So it is doable, not to say, you know, it is, you know, on street. You know, there is a large parking lot to the south, if you're not familiar. There is parking in the back, you know, so that'll all be determined, but I don't want to say for sure right now, like, oh yeah, buses are on the street or buses are in the lot, you know, I don't want to say that.
But she was asking during the day, you know, 10:30 if she's going to come in. That parking lot's plenty big to have visitors and staff parking there during the day. What do you think?
You have to remember, the middle school we had 800 kids down there.
Yeah.
On the second floor, and with staffing, with parents, with concerts going on and everything else. We did that for.
I was down there.
Right, we did that for 2 years.
Jenny was down
So-
there for that.
So there should be, there will be enough room.
Yeah, so
Will be enough room. Will.
in just the one lot, right? Yeah, that's just on the south lot, there's 76 spaces, and at School 18, there's like 15 spaces right now. So, yeah, so I think we should be okay. There are, you know, there is central office, there is pre-K, like I said. I know pre-K, Julie and Ginny have talked about, you know, how those times we can stagger some of those times. That's easier done than, you know, just staggering a whole building. And so those discussions are all happening right now to make sure it's as pleasant as can be.
Well, the highlight is that the kids are gonna go from a redone School 18, bigger, brighter, better. And from there, they're gonna be coming into a new building here. And from here, they'll be going to a new tech center. So make sure you get out and vote.
And what I will promise is more visits from Mr. Carmelo, because he's right on the third floor.
Right,
So
right.
I'm saying that right now.
Where's your office, Adam?
I don't know. Any other questions?
Any other questions about any of the other parts besides School 18?
Okay. I think I'm over time anyway, so we can, we will. It's 2 more years
Don't forget.
for this, and then we'll, I'm sure, plan the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Have a good night. Thank you for the questions, too, really. It helps us, hearing the questions, helps us make sure we're on the right track to the things that we're trying to figure out.
Our meeting is going to be brief. If you'd like to stay, we only have like about 5 more minutes, so you're all welcome to stay. Right now, our January financials.
Transfers were minimal in January, just supplies and contractual. $6.9 million in claims were reviewed this month. The turnaround on invoices has improved dramatically in the last 6 months. We are paying bills as soon as we get them. The general fund projections were added this month. At this time, we are projecting a small surplus. The revenues look down from prior years, but that's just because our tax collection shift in months. Revenue in February are back up. Expenditures are exactly where we expect them. School lunch, revenues and expenditures are on target for our first year with BOCES. And all accounts have been reconciled.
Any questions? Thank you. Superintendent's recommendation, human resource staff matters unclassified and classified. Motion on the floor, consent agenda items unclassified 1 through 6.
Second?
7. I've used my old. Once, do I have to redo that? Motion. Motion on the floor for consent agenda items unclassified, numbers 1 through 7.
Second.
Oh, no. Okay. We're gonna go, can I skip around or can I? Okay, Yolanda.
You told them not to make it happen.
Okay. Let's start over. Should I start over? I never leave home without my attorney. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Motion on the floor for approval of minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Here we go. Motion on the floor for consent agenda items, unclassified, superintendent's recommendation, human resources. Unclassified items 1 through 7.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion on the floor for consent agenda items classified, items number 1 through 4.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent's recommendation programs, motion for consent agenda items 1 through 3.
Second.
All those, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? District announcements. Future meetings, March 16th at TM here for 6 o'clock, budget discussion, draft number 2. April 13th here at 6 o'clock. April 26th, school 14 at 6 o'clock. And now my favorite part of the night. Good news. Aligned with the Read Across America Week, the district-wide #TryReads campaign has begun. Students will participate in reading competitions and focus on developing a love for reading. Several authors' visits are planned. We are excited to see a culture of reading displayed and promoted throughout the district. At school too, as part of their college and career readiness work, they have created an ongoing partnership with Russell Sage College. There are 8 sessions scheduled with a chemistry professor working with a select group of scholars. They will be learning about the global impact of textile waste and creating a project to facilitate the reducing, reusing, or recycling of these materials. School 18's Odyssey of the Mind team submitted their virtual presentation on Tuesday, March 1st. We look forward to seeing how they do in the competition. Unfortunately, Odyssey of the Mind is virtual again this year, but we are proud of all of our teams and wish them all the best. And next year, maybe it'll be different. Senior in Tri-High, Virginia Safford placed second at sectionals for varsity indoor track. We want to send congratulations to her. Is there any other news or anything that anybody wants to say? I know, Mr. McShane. I just read on my community page on Facebook that you and Matt Robinson have been put up to shave your heads. Do you want to tell us what's going on?
Want to show us your hair right now?
Yeah. Can we get before and after pictures? And this is in support of Kristen Rasmussen?
Yes.
Yeah, and who's a former school 18, who was a leukemia survivor, and you're doing this for them, right? If they reach their goal.
Yeah, we're doing a fundraiser, the high school is doing a fundraiser, and if we meet the goal, Christian is gonna shave my head and Mr. Robinson's head.
I don't know, can he do it during a board meeting? We gotta get something to get people here. I mean, but no, good luck. I heard it's a $10,000 goal.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a very hardworking.
Yeah, he
ambitious
set
young
his
man.
goals up there. That's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Any other good news? Okay. Adam, again, thank you for tonight. We appreciate it.
Well done, Ms. Shelton.
Motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, capital project people. It's appreciated.
Thank you, everybody.